All right, everybody, welcome back. We are round two of Operation Jackal, which is an INS defense against a U.S. convoy. U.S. trying to get their convoy. If we look at their map, U.S. trying to get their convoy from the northeast of U.S. Maine down to approximately Charlie 8. No, excuse me, not Charlie 8, Delta 8, approximately in that location. They have a Logi truck that they need to get over that location. If they lose a Logi truck, depending on how far they've gotten, they either need to exfil at a point before or they need to continue through to the COP location. Once again, that's in Delta 8. So we'll be interested to see how the U.S. and INS manage to come through this operation. First round, we saw a lack of aggression from INS defense. Once again, using guerrilla tactics is the way to go. You're playing a conservative, conventional defense against a U.S. platoon does not necessarily work out in the best. And U.S., as Diplex and I saw, had a lot of power and just punched through everything that INS tried to put down.
Yeah. And for the second round, we're spectating the team that played as the US in the previous round. So we're gonna see how they adapt to the team swap or the faction swap. Hopefully, we'll see a more organized insurgent defense this time around. It was very scattered for the opposite team in the previous round. Very unorganized, but it does seem like they have a very strict plan. And I think, unlike the first round, the insurgent team this time around is actually pulling back. It looks like they're going to try and focus on a more harder defense than instead of that line defense. They're very split up now in two sections, two squads on each side.
Yeah, it does look like they're going to be focusing on cutting the map down to its narrowest point, so they'll have fewer ground to cover. And I hope that what that does is it allows the U.S. to get drawn closer in, and INS can then hit them from the sides as they get swallowed up into the thinner part of the valley. But we'll see what happens here. INS getting the initial set, and as they set up, I guess we can look and fly over to the U.S. and see what kind of route they're deciding to take. I think they're taking the northern route. Let's take a look here. Oh, can't see them on the map yet. Let's see. Where are they going? Yeah, a lot of open ground here for US to cover. They'll be able to blow through most of it. However, they're probably going to be taking it slow just because they're not going to be expecting contact in certain areas. But let's see here. All right, so it looks like
the vehicles are going north instead of south.
Yeah, it looks like some kind of call went out, and there's a group of infantry over here on the south that's I guess they're waiting for the Logi, they're screening the rear, something like that. But the main convoy, like you said, is going to be heading northbound.
Yeah, that north road. Interesting. They have a lot of ground to cover before they engage any insurgents. So we might see a very long game now, depending on how cautious they are. Now, they do know that there is an area on the map where you can expect insurgent troops. The insurgents are not allowed to advance too far, so we might see actually some kind of ground swiftly covered here, because otherwise, if the insurgents keep pulling back, it's going to be a while until we see shots traded. But yeah, well, what's up with the dismounted squad further back?
I think that is the Logi squad. They're going to be hanging back and guarding the Logi truck, which is the main objective. We can see right here that they are following that Logi truck. They're going to be providing, I guess, security around that truck and keeping that in the back.
Yeah, they don't even want to risk losing it, so they're going to keep it by spawn until it's really clear to go straight to the location they have. I think already I'm seeing a more patterned insurgent defense here. It's not so much stretching out in a line, which they have indirectly done here. It looks like they've really been positioned out here into some key locations. I see a pattern here. They're splitting some fire teams. They're getting some high ground covered. You know, it's starting to evolve into a line, but once again, as you said, it's a tighter line here because this part of the map is more narrow than by the radio tower. So I just hope we get to see a more fluid style here. Maybe the team that played insurgents in the last round that are now on the US team, maybe they will carry a similar pace to what the US did in the previous round. You know, that kind of swift, aggressive move. Maybe they realized that their very static insurgent defense didn't really garner too much. And maybe this time around, somehow the insurgents will different mindset than they did previously playing as the U.S. They already seem to be a little more static in terms of the positions they're applying right now. Not all of these insurgents are in a position where they can easily counterattack and spread out. They seem to be
Yeah, just make sure you have someone watching
applying
the
that kind of
roadblock,
like static long range
and you're
defense
not
right
gonna
now.
have great eyes with their keys. The idea
US
is you're just
taking
gonna
it really slow right
present
now,
an
getting their
obstacle to
initial
them
dismount point
flanking on
under
the south
control,
road.
and we'll see them start pushing up here momentarily as soon as they feel comfortable.
I don't have any eyes on it.
Okay, I don't really have eyes on it either. I'm trying to find a good place.
Because there's no elevated position over here.
Right, but you should be able to
So,
get someone close to it.
Yeah,
right,
we've
not
got a
Joe?
lot of troops
I've got eyes on
dismounted.
the
I'm gonna
map,
go ahead
on the
and refresh the
Alright.
silhouettes. Pretty tight
Yeah, I see
formation.
what you do.
There's no one to the south,
Basically,
so
like, farm.
potentially that
Yep.
far southern squad has to keep an
North
eye on
side, for
the
north.
southern flank too. They are left in case any insurgents do counterattack. But right now they're keeping
Alright,
a
remember, the
pretty
MRAP
good
is not
formation here.
obligated to use the
Combat
road.
line moving up. Fire team
Logi is
covering
being
fire
watched.
team. Looks pretty solid from above.
Yep, looks like they're getting that platoon line set up to start swooping through the valley westbound. And we should
Logi
see
moved up.
movement here in a second.
MATV up
See
there as
that?
well. A little ahead of the infantry, kind of a ballsy move in case there's rockets nearby. It's very open too. In the previous game, the MATV wasn't. Did it go down or
I'm not
was it
sure what happened,
abandoned?
but it was it wasn't used too often at all, really.
No, it kind of just like faded away into the greater part of the combat. You didn't really see it do too
400
much.
meter shot.
I mean, it did protect the convoy against the initial ambush there, the push out by the insurgent forces.
Mm-hmm.
But after that, I kind of forgot about it.
Yeah, it kind of just disappeared. But US, didn't really need to use it. They kind of took the game
No eyes on
pretty handedly, and now hopefully US this time around
That map moved. I didn't see
comes
where it
into
went.
some kind of
Yep.
more fortified, I guess, and organized defenses by the INS, and
Alright,
we'll get
that's
some
not definitive.
some
They can
more
still
of
get
that
back
kind of
south
combat
like we
going
did.
on.
Alright,
We still
so I
got maybe
eyes on the
600
MRAP,
meters
or no, I
until
have eyes on
combat,
the
so
Logi.
it's gonna be a slow
transport
beginning
truck.
here.
Mhm.
There's one times M939 truck parked.
That
at,
is one wide line. But what I
Hotel
like about it is
6,
that both extreme
10,
ends
4-ish
of
on the
the
road.
the platoon line here on the insurgent side are kind of on a high ground. So they're slightly elevated. So both extreme ends or both extreme flanks here of the insurgent line are capable of focusing fire down on the center as well,
Mm-hmm.
as they have a slight elevation
Alright, we're
in
gonna
some
sit there and let
areas.
him come
It,
to
it
us.
does
We
look
want
like
a forcing
vision back here is
climatic
pretty good. I think this could be a
do you
better
think?
location to engage the
There's
U.S. in
infantry moving
than
west on
previously
line,
seen
where
in
the
round
route
one.
was previously.
Yeah, we can see
Copy,
all those
hold
dots
fire,
in the
hold fire,
horizon
really get nice and
where the INS positions are, and they stretch pretty much just like last
just
round
flare
all the
for
way
mines.
north to
We're gonna
south
let them
across the
discover
map,
us.
cutting the map in half.
Then we'll
So
see if they either
one thing
push
that we
on
are
or they
noticing
push
immediately
those.
that is different is US has stacked the entire platoon on the north side. So a lot more firepower, a lot more manpower up on the north, which means the only thing that they have going for them this game is pure frontal brute strength.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And also,
they-
interestingly, is they're also putting themselves in a position where it leaves a lot of room for the insurgents to be like, "Hey, do you want to start acting on your best chance to win, which is the mobile attack and defense?" So the U.S. is kind of inviting the insurgents to be like, "Hey, actually, take your entire southern flank, push in and flank us and destroy us, because we're all here on the northern side of the river. We're very tightly grouped, as you said." And if the insurgents this time around play this differently than what the insurgents did in the previous round, they can really utilize that position and that situation. But if the insurgents play this game like they did in
Alright,
the
yes,
last
they're trying
round,
to go north.
or like the other team did in the last round, then they're not going to be able to
1-2.
utilize the fact that the
Yeah,
US
not
are
100%,
grouped up here on the north
suggestions.
in
1 and 2,
a
be
tight
ready when we
formation.
roll you
Yeah,
down.
US has very few
Uh,
opportunities now to flank, whereas INS now with
Flanking
with
force.
no potential US squad on the south, they're gonna have that entire south to play with if they do want to envelop and lock down the US. So I
don't
mean,
see anything
there's
south.
there's a
It'll
lot
be
of pros and
interesting to do.
cons. Yeah, with this kind of setup that we have right now. If US once
mean, you
again,
should be able to
uses
see
that aggression,
radio,
punches
like,
through,
everything
and
on the
fast.
radio.
They're going to be able to take these four squads and go up against the 2 squads on the north for insurgents. But if the insurgents can react fast enough and get proper flanks down and turn it into a 4v4 with the element of surprise and proper positioning, they can really spin this around on US. But once again, this comes down to the initial contact and how the INS responds, whether it's going to be massive movement to the front with a counterattack or a fallback and reorganization of all 4 squads to be utilized in the next firefight. But they cannot be fighting small locked-in engagements of 1-to-1 or even 2-to-1
Which, by the way,
I wonder if
U.S.
we-
favored engagements because U.S. has the troops to push through this.
Have you noticed that there's sort of a lack of 360 security even from the far southern U.S. troops here on the north side? You see 1 or 2 guys keeping an eye on the south, but in general, I think they're pretty much in territory right now where they can expect to engage insurgents.
I'm pretty sure
And
we've
I
got
don't
2
see ultimately
squad
keeping an
size,
eye on
the other
their
one's moving
far south or
towards us, and I
any
think
potential
from the
flanks.
way that they're moving
That
behind
is a good
walls,
point.
they know we're
They
here.
are playing it pretty fast and loose. It's
think
going to
it's
come
pretty
down
easy
to
getting
speed. If
contact
they're
with
not going to
us.
watch their flanks, they need to be pushing through the front fast enough to where, you know, any flanking squad is not going to be able to keep up with them. So if they choose to ignore their south and their rear flanks, which I highly, you know, that's not exactly a great call to make. The only way to really balance that is with forward momentum and to push through and make sure that any squad that is going to flank can't keep up with you.
What I think the INS troops expect too is not a platoon line to engage them in a similar from what they have established their defense as. I think they're expecting it to be more focused. That is kind of what the US are expected to do now, given that they have a vehicle, given the firepower and their strengths in this situation. So the only thing I'm actually really interested in keeping an eye on here is if this time around the INS team will actually utilize that mobile defense and fold in with the southern flank. Because otherwise, if they remain static as the INS team did in the last round, I think the US are going to be at a great advantage here, having so much focused firepower in one area.
Oh, yeah.
They'll knock down those 2 squads, and then the 2 to the south won't do much. But once again, that river is a pretty good flanking area. There's a lot of walls and the south, so I'm just really excited to see if they get their ass hauling once that firefight starts. If that commander says no, we're engaged here to the north. 2 squads down south, keep going, push ahead, and then move north to attack.
Yeah, I think the standard squad line setup that I usually run when we're playing on Kohat, whether it be Operation Midnight Mass or otherwise, is I put 3 squads online on the front west, so you got that north, middle, and south. On the northern side of the river, so you have that complete platoon line pushing westbound, and then I commit my one last final and 4th squad watching the south river and the rear flank. So it's kind of like a L shape moving westbound, which allows for complete security of your flanks and firepower in the front. So we're seeing somewhat of a modified kind of, I guess, like a T formation here. Where there are 3 platoons online pushing through as the main force, and then 1 squad in the center, kind of as QRF and overall rear security. So kind of a modified line that we usually run, or I usually run, but it should work out pretty well so long as momentum is pushed up, because this, once again, like we said before, a lot of firepower to the front, but you have 0 flanking possibilities here locked in this kind of line.
Stiff resistance.
Yeah, I'm glad they put 2 in a back layer here, so they can act in case the left side of the T on the south side, or further south than I suppose than the north part of the T gets attacked. That back wing can kind of fold in and help push the insurgents back from attacking the flank there. So it's turning into a more mobile, versatile line now. I think they expected that.
This is a very versatile setup that the U.S. is running right now. Allows them to react to any contact anywhere responsibly and fast. So contact is going to be coming up here pretty soon. We're about 400 meters out from enemy players.
Yeah, I wonder if the INS will play a waiting game here too. We don't see too many field crawlers like we did in the previous video. I mean, or we do have a few, and look at the discipline of some of these INS troops. If you go back to the front of this insurgent platoon line and look at that one soldier that is the furthest closest to the US troops, look at the way he is like pinpointing his vision on that hole. He is not letting go of that area. He has strict instructions by his squad leaders to catch anyone off guard passing that hole is to open fire. You don't see him looking around, letting them catch him lacking. So he's posted up. And look at the discipline too. If you just pause your camera for a moment, you don't see a lot of insurgent movement. They're dug down and they're waiting for the U.S. to
Yeah,
approach
they're not
them.
getting twitchy or fidgety. They're locked in. They're ready. They know what they need to do, and they just need to execute now. As we get close, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, unlike the previous round where we saw some insurgents up to essentially spoiled the ambush, this time I don't think they're gonna do that mistake. I think they're gonna wait until they absolutely all have some kind of idea or vision of the U.S. presence, and then they're gonna open up simultaneously. I think we're gonna see good communication. I think is going to come into play here on the INS team this time.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be.
I see supplies in the back.
Well, as you see, as US gets closer now, they have to spread out a little bit more. The valley widens up a little bit. The river kind of gives way to more ground, and there's a couple more compounds they gotta clear here. So US is gonna get spread a little thin. I would have liked to see him commit to a sector of this northern part of the valley, but it looks like they're still trying to sweep through the entire chunk of it, and it's going to spread them thin, which gives INS a good opportunity here to engage favorably. So this is a good position and setup for INS. US has kind of spread themselves a little thin, trying to sweep through the entirety of the valley. If they had stuck to like a certain sector of it, they would have had more security. But yeah, we're gonna see how INS capitalizes on this opportunity.
And it's also going to eliminate the choice for the southern side of the INS platoon. Like, they're going to be engaged whether they would have moved or not, since the US are starting to spread out now. So, but look, we do see some INS movement.
Yeah, we see that counterattack movement coming out right now. As soon as US gets spotted, that call comes out from INS command to get that maneuvering going and get that flank moving to envelop them. So this is exactly what we need to see the previous round, and INS executing it beautifully. You can see that movement happening immediately, and they're going to be able to envelop the entire US platoon here momentarily. And with no flanking squad from the US on the south like last round, this is going to be pretty devastating because they won't have any opportunity to outflank this. They're going to be fighting for a breakthrough of this encirclement.
Yeah, as I said previously too, I think the backside is kind of falling behind a bit. The left side of the T, which is about any moment now about to engage two insurgent squads, is going to lack that supporting fire. And the first bullets are traded, and those US guys are really caught off guard here in a really tight group. Looks like they're going to put some good fire on the insurgents they spotted on the other side of the wall, though. But it's all a matter of time right now. Look at the insurgent movement to the far south.
Yeah, it's all about speed now. US trying to secure their south flank to make sure they don't get encircled. INS trying to cut it off. That center squad that tried to flank does get spotted and gets pushed back. No casualties as of yet. But this south squad moving fast now, and as soon as they get this cut off, it's going to be devastating for the squad moving south here by the US. It's a race to this intersection.
Absolutely, and look at the rear part of the T formation. It's static, like we saw in the previous round when they were playing as insurgents. This time around, it is too static. It is still static. Why are they sitting back there? They should be moving up to support and secure the flank of the left part here, the foremost squad, or the forwardmost squad here on the US side covering the bridge right now. They are in need of that back coverage. They do not want to be looking to their left, and that US squad back by the logic truck is kind of... Oh, but we do see a fallback here on the insurgent side, though.
Yeah.
Interesting.
INS does decide. Yeah, INS does decide. You know what? They haven't really committed as much as we want them to yet to get the proper encirclement. They still have proper security yet. They're going to try to go for another opportunity. But it's good to see that there was an attempt at the breakthrough and a proper call here, I think, because US did manage to get across the river before INS could cut them off, and it would have ended up in isolated skirmishes, which is not exactly what INS wants. They want those hit and runs, kind of fluid movement, and they could not get that with US pushing that fast over the bridge. So they're going to wait for US to further commit, and US is committing into the valley now. We see these two northern squads pushing further west. I think as soon as these INS squads here on the west do get engaged, they will try to encircle again. But if US keeps that one squad near that bridge, they're going to be able to screen their entire south and prevent that encirclement. So INS tried to get that flanking maneuver out and that counterattack out, where they were not fast enough, did get spotted and pushed back, but still zero casualties on both sides as of now.
Sure. Correction too is to my previous statement. It does look like the squad right now in the rear of the U.S. formation is actually the protective logic squad. So I don't see them being as mobile as I would have previously said wanting them to be. Because right now there's not two squads in the lead here. There's three squads in the lead. So there's no real backup squad that can kind of fold around right now. That last squad is dedicated to defending the logic truck. So we're not going to expect too much movement out of that one, despite the flanking
Alright,
moves
yeah.
that we saw
So
earlier.
keys, they're like F772
Oh, and it looks like
and F779.
The insurgent defensive line or platoon line has been reset now, almost entirely.
Yeah, that control and that extreme responsiveness to orders really being showcased there. You know, pushed out, everyone pushed back in. Really snappy and responsive, you know, kind of reaction here from INS. And if they're able to just maintain that and keep that amount of pressure up whenever it needs to be applied and be ready to snap to and execute orders, they're going to be able to maneuver really quickly and sweep in from the south again.
Copy.
Yeah, good. That shows a lot of promise to know that they have a lot of
Bridge.
they have some very decisive commanders in lead right now. Like when he gave that call to pull back, it was decisive and committed, and they retreated without
Alright, yep,
taking
get
any
ready, we're
casualties.
pushing up on top
They
here.
didn't leave any men behind. They didn't get cut off, and they knew exactly where to go back to. So, it was a good attempt, but they made the right call to pull back. The U.S. simply didn't overextend
Understood.
as
We're
they
looking
had
grid.
wanted them to.
North side of bridge, just at the crossing there.
Logi and MATV moving up right now.
Yeah, so it's going to be harder for INS to get encirclement down now that US is committed to a squad on the south. They're going to be able to screen the platoon south flank. But that does leave them weaker on the northern side of the river. Now they're going to be going up against even numbers here, which kind of favors INS. It's one squad on the south for both teams, 3 squads on the north side for INS. That MAT-V looks like it wants to cross the river. It looks like they're trying to go southbound and switch it up, which can actually really mess with insurgents at this point in time because they've committed the majority of their platoon to the north. This is an interesting play by US, setting up a screen now to secure this bridge and then push south along the bridge. So, very interesting maneuver here.
Alright, I see the MRAP. I do not see the thin skinned yet. Let me take a look.
I'm still very prepared to say that the insurgents are playing a very, very game here, despite their very static and disciplined positions right now. I'm still prepared to say that they have a plan set to execute, depending on what the U.S. does next.
Yeah,
I do not think they're allowing themselves to be dictated and dominated, despite the U.S. making all the moves right now. I think that is playing into part of the INS plan here.
I'm pretty interested. This is a really good strategy, I gotta say, from US. Setting up a forward screen and then switching it up on the main bridge to go southbound. What this does is it allows US to circumvent the majority of INS troops and allows their screening squads to lock down movement when INS tries to shift either back or southbound. So this is a very good strategy by US right here, and I'm hoping that it goes off without a hitch, but you know, it's going to be really interesting to see how INS responds, especially with that snappy response to orders that we just saw demonstrated. So if INS can respond effectively, they'll be able to counter this.
50 opening up there at some of the elevated insurgent forces on the northern side.
Okay, so they're north of us in the field.
Yeah, the U.S. seems to be in a very... they seem to be on top of their game here. Oh! We have a few U.S. troops caught out in the open there.
Yeah, they need to get to some cover. Oh, trading shots, suppress that MG gunner. Good effect
at this
right
range, there. At this range, the U.S. wins. And I think the insurgents know, which is why they were quick to engage and then back in cover. Right now, they're trying to preserve lives, increase survivability, and I think that's the right way to go. Oh wow, look at that bipod.
Yeah, that Saw really demonstrating that he doesn't want to get fucked with at all.
Yeah, he's suppressing that guy pretty heavily. But look at it, the insurgent is back up firing, despite using.
Oh, and he gets him.
Did he get him?
Yeah, Saw gunner goes down to a headshot.
Beautiful. Oh, and he's back again. He's back at it again. Wow.
INS slowing him down.
Yeah, this is where the insurgents have an upper hand. They're basically spreading a lot of firepower out. So the U.S. don't exactly know how many people could be in that one area since they have such a big spread right now. One guy is just capable of zeroing in at a lot of U.S. targets at once.
Slows down the entire U.S. platoon.
Yeah. Whereas the Americans in this case aren't able to find as many grouped up targets.
Do you want 4 to...
Well, this is a long-range engagement. I didn't quite expect this. especially not at this hour of the day here too. Vision is very limited, but well,
What are those guys shooting at?
I hear people down below saying,
What is
"What
that
are we
ever
shooting at?"
I really don't know. Just don't question it.
But looking further south, Garm, we have a lot by the radio tower. They're starting to come up now. And that
Alright,
Logi
there's
truck
US
and
infantry
MATV
east
is also
of
moving further
squads 3
south.
and 4 down
Yeah,
to
so
they're
we are
gonna
seeing
try
that
and-
switch up right now where
Yeah.
they're trying to push
We're
south.
traps.
US is swapping from the north to the south, changing up the game a little bit. We have this forward center
I
platoon
think
or
they're
squad here,
right north of radio.
literally 50 meters across the river from an INS squad, and
Yeah.
people are really close to each other now with these walls, but you can't see over the walls, so contact's essentially going to be ending up initiating right on top of each other.
They've pierced into the insurgent line, so any troops on the north side of this sort of walled-off area is essentially going to come across the U.S. forces here. So it looks, just looking at it from above, it does look like there's only about 1.5 insurgent squads, or about 2 squads that are going to engage about.
To explain,
Well, is
since
that
you
a
guys
2
broke
or
through
2
their
on
lines,
2 on
you were
3
able to conduct some
down here in
kinda
the south?
backfield operations and shoot
Because
them down, basically.
But you
by
guys-
piercing
but
in
they
like that, they're
also-
locking off the insurgents to the north.
Yeah,
from being able to
exactly.
react.
These 2 squads on the north screening and locking down INS movement while the breakaway in the south happens. And so long as they keep that position, keep INS locked down, they're going to be able to punch through the south effectively. So that's all these squads on the north now. Their job is to just lock down INS movement while the south U.S. troops break away. And this is exactly what I was talking about. Seeing it happen now, it's just gonna come down to INS being able to reposition and
they're trying to
lock
shift
down the south now.
They are
Yeah, we
currently
got
in the
some
field
good
in
shots.
F748.
Alright, MREP is
They're-
moving close.
they're gonna go
MREP
right
is
through
moving
you, buddy.
close, Bonnie.
US are covering their
Copy.
angles, moving up in fire teams,
Wait, give me a grid.
supported
MREP
by
is Foxtrot
MATVs
8,
and
Key
MATV.
6 on the road.
Other than
Key
that,
6 on the
it's
road.
there's like
Since they're
a
not moving north,
fairly,
three in command will abandon our
fairly
positions
limited
and
casualties
shift
for both
west
sides
and
right
then
now,
south.
despite
Try
the
and go
exchange of fire.
reinforce
I
the
think
area
both
at Echo 9.
teams are very
Okay, the
very
MREP
aware
crossing
of
the,
their enemy's
Creek
positions
Bridge
right now.
in like 2 seconds.
But like the insurgents are playing a waiting game here, and the Americans are cautiously moving ahead, showing great decision and great determination here, as well as tactics.
Alright, we might make that a little bit less west, more south.
This center U.S. squad that we were talking about earlier about how they pushed in
We're still got the
is
south
gonna
side of the
it's gonna essentially be able to screen all INS movement, and it's gonna really help the south troops by keeping these INS locked up on the north.
Look, we see a fire team from the north side now being pushed behind the insurgent line to retreat further south to reinforce the southern assets here. They're leaving a few men behind, but I think right now the U.S. simply aren't pushed in far enough, and they don't have that great of vision being behind walls. I think the insurgents are gonna be able to transition a lot of men from the north further south if they have to. There's a lot of ground to kind of
That's
move
the ID.
safely
I know,
over
but
behind the combat line
Okay,
here.
but you should be able to hear them. I know that compound.
Yeah,
Look
it's
at that
fine.
wall to
U.S.
wall now.
running,
US troops
yeah.
pushing in.
There is an IED coming up ahead, so we might see some IED play. But U.S. keeping up that momentum. They're doing a good job of it.
Ooh.
A couple of U.S. troops do go down. INS is embedded in the defenses here. Need to see some grenades go out to clear these guys out. They need
We're
to
seeing
get
a very
grenades out.
static, like we said previously, the insurgents are too static.
Mhm.
The troops in the
Alright,
north
three has
side,
one
they're
again,
covering
then
that
Barber
compound.
coming.
What do they hope
Hey,
to
they have
achieve
ground,
by sitting there? That's not the COP
medics
location,
compound.
is it?
But to
No.
the east side.
So right now,
east side,
essentially, they're allowing that
they're not
northern
really
fire
east
team
side.
just north of their position
tell me
get
when to
eliminated and surrounded.
Yep.
And essentially, they're locking
I'm gonna
themselves
take
off in there too.
Sorry.
They have limited
Yeah.
exits out of that compound. So if the U.S. know they're there, they could essentially be
Copy
caught
that.
behind the walls.
Alright, three out goals.
Grenades
I
being
want
traded.
one fire
There's a
team
lot
to
of,
the
uh,
north assisting
There's a lot of stuff going on
one,
right now.
and then I want the other
Yeah,
fire team
insurgents
south at
starting
the
to push out.
crossroad in
Oh,
Echo
we've got a lot of
829,
like
right
close
by the line.
engagements up there, wall to wall essentially. He's suppressing nicely. So far, I'm very happy with the U.S. play.
Yeah, there needs to be a little bit more aggression because the longer they wait, INS shifts.
Yeah,
So
and
they
right
need
now
to
they're
continue
shifting the entire.
punching through here,
Yeah,
which they are. It's happening slowly. Like they need to just take the compound. Like sitting around and waiting doesn't really do anything. They just need to take the compound. The longer they wait, the worse it is.
Yeah.
Our squad didn't take it.
Okay, Pony, that one wall.
The insurgents. Ooh.
Oh, huge firefight erupting here in the middle.
Originally, that's what I'm pushing for right now. I'm trying to peek the corner.
Copy. So yeah, 3, definitely get your fire team routed over to 1 to assist.
And then there's the, like...
US are holding their ground, keeping up suppressing fire. A few more grenades going off to the south.
Like, in between 2 and us.
Yep. That's what.
Yeah, so the entire northern squad is now transitioned further south. They've moved
That's what
away
fire
from the
team
high
right
ground,
now is trying to correct.
and they're moving south to battle the vehicle convoy and its infantry. Wow, lots of firefighting, or lots of bullets being carried in the center. A few hand grenades going off as well. And the insurgents still playing a pretty mobile defense. They're still kind of very close to the far more northern U.S. squads. Have they moved a few further south as well? Because it looks
Yeah.
like they've lost their far northern grab.
US
Or
needs to
hold.
continue moving. I
Still
don't know
pushing
what
west
the
from
what
river
the
right
deal
now.
here is.
They're on the red smoke in the river.
Copy. I
Well,
see.
once again, we're seeing the same issues. All right, they're slowly working this flank, but they need to step up the pace. They're taking forever.
Yeah, the insurgents are now dictating the game, it seems. It looks like the U.S. are kind of
Enemy
bogged
MRAP
down,
east, southeast somewhere.
and the insurgents are going to be able to harden up in that center river compound.
Plus.
Check your left, dude. Oh my god, he didn't check his left.
Oh, is that a PPSH?
That PPSA. No one's checking their corners. Oh dear God. CQB 101. Check your corners. That one PPSH just mowed down 3 U.S. troops because no one checked their corner. You got, this is messy.
I think their whole fire team.
U.S. getting bogged down now, and INS shifting to resupport the south. UNS is losing the window of opportunity.
On the roadblock.
Losing the window of opportunity.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's not. It's definitely not over in terms of manpower. It's very even.
Yeah, it's pretty even right now, for sure. But the longer this goes on like this, where US gets bogged down and INS shifts up and keeps that pacing, dictates the pacing,
Just tell me when.
it's gonna get worse and worse.
That river assault is pretty messy. At least they're moving, but it's in the wrong place to. Like, you want to see more movement to the north and south, where there's more cover. But the majority of the U.S. movement right now is in the open, trying to assault that sort of center compound that's splitting the river in two.
Alright.
And it's, you know, a hard assault. Lots of grenades being thrown.
The south end of the river.
You could almost think there's mortar fire going on right now, but it's not. It's just accurate grenades. Oh! Good shooting, though, from a few U.S. troops back there. Picking off a few insurgents behind the walls. You also have that 50 supporting. See, this is playing.
Yeah, that's
This is being played out in two ways. While the U.S. are being bogged down and slow in some areas, I see insurgent troops that should be moving as well, acting on the situation, and they're not. So it's you know, both teams right now are a little static, a little too static.
Yeah, like US has a lot of troops right here in the rear, just sitting back when they could be using them to punch through the front. Like, there's no movement happening back here.
Pony, you still up?
Yeah.
Okay.
50 is being used more deliberately now, and MATV is playing a larger role
We're
in
gonna
this
stay
game.
around line. We're gonna try and hold this line.
Yeah, making our way down to you right now.
We're to our northeast, or in between you and I now.
US trying to take this middle compound right here.
It's gonna be a bloody fight, and
You gotta
there's
check fire. That was very close. Oh god, they're trying to push across the river. I mean, it's working. That's so ballsy. We're finally seeing some maneuvering going on here. Frags going out in the compound. And that's a bad frag.
2 U.S. soldiers caught off there. Was that an insurgent frag?
That was
or
a friendly
US?
frag that went over the 2 walls.
Oh no. Well, at least the ones on the south side of the compound are flanking around hard. They do have an entrance with 2 insurgents waiting for them, so this could be nasty. Oh,
Ooh, he gets him.
one's gonna be cut off. Nice. See, this is where the insurgents to the north should be acting. Why aren't they moving further south? We see some movement, but they should be moving in and folding over right now.
This is a really messy match. There's so much happening all at once.
Yeah. I still think the U.S. are on top of it right now.
Exactly.
Just following my intuition, I could be wrong, but something tells me they're getting the most efficient moves in right now.
I don't know. They're making some really risky plays here.
Down the street.
Not exactly calculated risks.
Grenade being thrown. Is that a kill?
Alright, it is right at like the little
Do it.
intersection.
I would do it now. I would do it now. I would do it now.
Blow IED now.
Oh,
they're gonna blow an IED any moment.
Yeah, do it.
They're blowing the IED right now as we
Yeah,
speak.
Blowing IED. Blowing IED.
Ah,
EMF's like
unfortunately,
right or not, okay, so it's
for the
five
insurgents,
of
no
them
U.S.
are
troops were
they want-
close enough to be harmed. But looking further south, we have the one fire team that survived or that wasn't in action previously are now kind of going to become more relevant as the U.S. aren't taking any chances. They're going to want to clear that compound out before they
No, they
move
don't. I see
further
Americans.
west.
80 degrees
And this is going to occupy U.S. troops, much
They're in
needed
the
U.S.
orchard,
troops
they're in
when
the
it comes to
in
securing
E85.
ground here. So, yeah, they're being played into the hands of the insurgents right now. This is all considered and thought out. Nothing here is left to the chance. Oh, is that a wall-to-wall situation?
Here, they're
Ooh,
right here. They're right here. Look at the entrance. Look at the entrance.
they can hear him. Yeah,
Alright, to their
Nice.
past you.
that wasn't gonna work.
They're in.
They're attacking right now. They know we're here now. They know we're here now. We killed
I'm
like
hearing
three
the
guys.
calm silence from the castle siege a while back.
Yeah, I'm kind of just.
Looking south.
When one team seems lost, and then you're gonna shoot back into the sky as soon as we pull it back. I'm just waiting for it.
Alright,
I'm just
alright.
watching in
Relatively
complete
position, I
kind
would
of
proceed
disbelief
west and
at
south,
the
take up positions.
at what's going on right now. U.S. is attacking positions they don't need to attack and avoiding the areas they need to be pushing through.
Yeah, that's exactly what I meant.
They're
Where
losing.
that's
Yeah, they're losing focus.
insurgent squad. Yeah, the static insurgent squad that I thought wasn't being used is actually having the U.S. play into their hands by
Not
just
sure
holding
where
that
it is now.
area.
Oh, there we go.
They're
Yeah.
gonna get some
Moving
free
up the road,
kills,
moving up the road.
essentially.
Tell you that to be ready.
They're basically saying, hey, we're gonna fight
they're
you
smoking
where
us
we
here.
are at the biggest advantage possible,
Mhm.
like holding houses.
Reach
And the
left,
U.S. are
right.
like, hey, we're going to
Before I'm
fight
gonna go
you where
ahead
you
and
are
tell
in the biggest.
Yeah, U.S. is like, all right, let's
Yeah.
go in this house. Let's go in
Yeah.
this house. And
exactly.
insurgents
Instead
are
of-
like, all right, we're just waiting in this house, and
Exactly,
they're just
exactly.
losing bodies. Like where the main road
dude, now
is
it's only
completely undefended.
here where the IE
Their
is,
U.S. is
buildings
not
and
pushing the main road. They're going after these side houses. They're getting distracted. They're losing bodies. When the main road is open, they could be pushing through and past all of this, but they're getting distracted to the sides, and they're just hemorrhaging bodies now.
Forward,
It's
proceed west to the cop.
This
It
is
is not
what the
good.
U.S.
Still
team.
alive.
This is what the insurgent team that played as the U.S. did differently in the last game. When they realized the insurgents were playing that static defense and were waiting for them, they said, "Fuck it, we're gonna move on. We're not gonna engage you to the rear or the east. We're gonna keep pushing west in a combined formation."
Alright, we
They
got
did
US
so,
infantry moving
and
up
they
on
were
us.
largely
They're at the
successful
orchard
winning
now
the
in
game.
E83.
This time,
They
it's
are
like
Yeah.
getting
the roles are a little
Minutes.
reversed,
Stay in
and
this
the
one.
U.S. are now being played into the insurgents' hands instead of the other way around.
Back off that.
Oh, rocket up close there
barely
to the north.
misses. Yeah.
West. We are basically.
And the insurgents are totally mobile, like very mobile defense, good communication, and also you see coherent unit movements. You don't see some random ass insurgents running around the field not knowing what they're doing, whether they're attacking or pulling back. You actually see combined units here moving back coherently.
It's a good pick by Niels. Yeah, there's a lot of organized movement here. They're avoiding the only engagements that you notice. The only engagements that INS is taking are CQB compound engagements. No field engagements. They're not getting locked up in wall-to-wall combat. They're fighting in buildings where they have a definitive and objective advantage. Where US is just walking into the compounds. When they could, when the main objective, they're losing focus of the main objective is to get that logi to the cop location. If they had just arrow pointed through this and really gone for a breakthrough and just trudged along the main line, knowing that they'd contact in the buildings left and right, if they just pushed through contact along the MSR, they would be halfway to the objective by now. But they're getting distracted by these compounds on the left and right, and they're just
Some
losing.
movement though. It's a little promising. They might have.
We're finally
realized
seeing some movement
doing.
here. Yeah.
Yeah, they might have realized the mistake they're
Oh,
committing,
copy, copy.
and they've actually, whether they don't know for sure if the
We're
insurgents
trying to
have left their
this
positions further
defense.
back, but they have, despite not knowing, decided to not leave it to chance, and they've decided to actually act on what they were failing to do previously, which was to pursue the goal, as you just said. And they said, you know, let's disengage. Whether they're still there or not, we're going to disengage, and we're going to try and dominate the pace here of this battle. Look at the insurgents. They've completely left the center compound. They've covered their retreat with smokes. The U.S. troops are bogged down, static, and that almost looked like crossfire or actually bullets were hitting. Indirect fire was landing by the U.S. troops by the river. But,
Yeah, you can see there's a very clear, definitive focus INS has always been playing with. Like, they have a goal, they execute that goal, then they move on to the next goal. There's no hesitation, there's no deliberation. They just execute. And whether that be pulling out or holding a position or making certain movements, it's snappy, it's responsive, and they're able to get it done before US can make the same decisive calls. There's been a lot of calls here, or at least slow hesitation here by US, and INS is just reacting much quicker to commands.
Another U.S. soldier is going to fall to the wall, and that is going to demolish the morale of the behind him. And it's also going to slow him down. Yeah, he's going to risk his life.
Yeah, one thing that US does need to do is realize that their front line is getting diminished. They need to replenish that with their rear line troops and reinforce the front. They haven't done that. They're still sitting back on rear security. US command needs to make the call to reinforce the front line and continue the momentum, because right now, I don't think he realizes how diminished his front line troops are, and he needs to get support up there to continue the momentum. Because like you said, that morale, right? There's only 2 of those guys on that south flank now, and they're not going to want to push because there's only 2 of them. So they need to get more troops up there, get them motivated, and get them moving again. Because right now, you can see how morale is really affecting the speed of this push.
Another thing worth mentioning is there's an RPG waiting down the road, MATV to drive up on it. So that's a tailored situation waiting to happen. All the US has to do is stick the hand in the glove, and it'll fit perfectly. But yeah, as I said, like, despite the fact that this is a game, it has an impact on you, feeling that the other team isn't exactly there to support. Like, if you felt nearby presence, like stronger presence, and an overall wave of movement, you would have been more inclined to do your part. Right now, those 2 guys up there, despite the fact that one of them is a squad leader, is probably not. Oh, well, now there's only 1 left as well. They don't feel the stress of like moving up in a combined assault here. They're the front reconnaissance troops. Why should they be motivated to push ahead when the rest of the team is just sitting by waiting for them to kind of, I don't know, sacrifice their lives just to make out some insurgent locations.
Like, they have the numbers to overwhelm this position, but they're just probing it one at a time. I don't understand. Like, if they just overrun this position.
Yeah, there's a 9-man guard. There's a guarding the Logi truck, and not even in a good formation. Even if there is insurgent troops nearby.
Oh my God! Did you see that?
Nope, I missed it.
Sugart just completely just snaps and.
He knows he's behind that wall. Look at that movement. Beautiful.
Yeah, so he's able to clear him out. That was some excellent shooting by Sugart.
That's some squad leader shit right there.
Yeah, so we're finally seeing some troops from the rear reinforce the front. But like, as we can see, it's a constant theme of just sluggish reaction times here by US, and it's really like right now, there's no movement. Nothing's happening right now.
And even if the idea is to protect the Logi truck, what kind of defensive perimeter is that? You have 2 guys sitting out in the open, 1 guy's sitting indoors. Like, what exactly? How are you preventing the insurgents from sneaking up, literally knocking on the door to that Logi truck? Like, if you're going to be defending the Logi truck, do it preemptively. You know, spread out.
Yeah, there's a lot of reactive play coming from the US right now. A lot of reactive play. They're not really taking the initiative. It's more, they've always been, they've constantly been responding, except for that one north to south switch. the entirety of the pacing of the game has been dictated by INS, and US has just been responding to everything that's been happening.
They know we're here. They know we're here.
They feel
Copy. We're
they
almost
lack a
on your
little
side. We're almost on your side.
self-confidence. They lack decisiveness. They always move up
Yeah,
looking
one
behind.
leader.
You know,
Yeah,
they're looking behind their backs. You
Mhm.
can tell they're not on top of the situation right now, seeing as they even have to look back. You got 2 troops pinning their focus on the rear, and if they had more control of the area, they could know more exactly what the INS troops are up to.
And now is
With
the
that
time to get aggressive with the map V. Like the further
Yeah.
into an operation, the less chances they have
but wait
lat
for that
gunners
rocket.
alive.
That rocket is going to go off momentarily. Look
Oh,
at the discipline
all
of
these
that
U.S.
bush
troops are in the
soldier.
open.
But look at that. Look at the discipline of that soldier in the bush. That RPG is going to go off any moment now. Oh, he's moving. Okay, so he's going to go down in cover. He knows there's a lot of infantry nearby. Also worth noting right now is that there's one whole squad of insurgents flanking around the left.
Yeah,
They know that
another
the-
counterattack happening.
Beautiful.
MRAP's going down the north road, guys. North road.
That RPG should be going out any moment now. That insurgent is not going to risk dying. He's definitely going to try and get a rocket off in time. Although I think he might want to focus on the Logi truck. Do you think he's going to try and preserve himself, or do you think he's going to try and knock out?
Or I think U.S. found a mine and was able to get that
Really?
mine up. Good thing. Yeah, someone was shoveling on the ground there. And we see that counterattack
rocket.
by INS. That rocket goes out. Oh, he gets dropped by the Matt V gunner. Matt V gunner's not sleeping on the job. He says no to that lat gunner. But INS, like we talk about that mobile defense, INS has been doing some great job with their maneuvering, like executing, staying focused, and completing that order. And they're doing that right now. We see, really, look how fast INS was able to maneuver from all the way across the map to behind the U.S. troops. And U.S. is going to have to react once again to this. They're never making any aggressive enough move to force the enemy to react. They're always on the back end.
Copy, yep.
Yeah, at any time in this battle where the insurgents static, it has been a deliberate move, not based on U.S. movement, but they have been deliberately static depending on the situation. So they've never been static based on U.S. movement being pinned or being under domination of the U.S. They have been deliberately static as part of their plan, playing to their advantage.
Oh,
And,
this
right now-
flank is going to come off beautifully.
Yeah. Look at it. Yeah. But ooh, there's some troops keeping their focus on the right area. This is gonna come down to luck here. If he's out in the open, I mean, he knows they're nearby. Oh, that U.S. soldier's gonna come around the corner. Why is that Logi truck driver not fucking flooring it right now? What the?
He goes
Sorry,
down.
what the fuck is he doing?
I
There's
think
troops
he's
firing
just so
meters
caught
to
up.
the left.
I think he was just sleeping at the wheel.
Grenades are going off too. Yeah, the U.S. are in a triangular defense now. Just pretty much about every side.
And look at that aggression. Look at that aggression.
Yeah. That's all he had to do. Now we get a grenade over.
Oh, that,
Oh, that's a beautiful
that is.
grenade.
Oh my god. The aggression from INS is just outstanding.
And there are 4 U.S. soldiers on the north side of the river that aren't actually engaged right now, while hell is breaking loose to the south.
Mm-hmm.
We have 1 soldier doing
And
it
they now have
pretty,
U.S. encircled. This is exactly where INS needs to be, is encircling U.S. And they've managed to do it. The only thing right now that they need to be careful of is losing troops in the rear. Because if they lose that grip, then they're not going to have the ability to maintain the control of the encirclement. But right now, they're just got to work them in, and they're going to be causing so much chaos among U.S. lines.
Oh. Did that grenade bounce to 2 directions, or?
I'm not sure.
I saw 2 explosions. Oh, but we have 1 U.S. trooper taking the initiative, but he's going to be gunned down.
Yeah,
Maybe he
INS
was
just
acting a
executing
little-
this flank
Yeah.
perfectly.
And I can't stress it enough. Any static movement or any static tactics we've seen from the insurgents previously has not been because the U.S. have dominated the field. It's been because it's been entirely deliberate by
Oh,
the
these 2 guys traded that.
by the insurgents.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not necessarily a negative thing to be static at all times.
Yeah,
It
it's
is,
just
however, negative.
constant reacting by U.S.
Yeah,
just,
exactly.
just react, never taking the initiative.
Even that insurgent is gonna win that firefight against a scoped rifle.
And US just getting picked apart by this counterattack. I'm so happy we got to see a well-executed counterattack, because it just highlights the importance of something like that. And so now US has got to struggle to recover the Logi in the open.
MATV is still MATV is still active though.
Yeah, the
ammo
MATV
count
is
should
still
be
up.
good. Honestly, like that's gonna put the insurgents on the run. You see them right now being versatile. They've done what they can in the situation.
Yeah,
Why
that hit and
remain
run.
here?
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't overcommit. They take what they can and then they bounce out, and that's exactly what we're seeing here. And now there's another firefight erupting on the north as US is trying to get a flank off. They do get caught in the river, which is not where you want to get caught when you're flanking in the open river. And it's just, yeah, US has been reacting. It's unfortunate. INS playing like really snappy to commands. They're ooh, that's a lot of fire. I don't think they got anyone though. There's definitely serving as perfect cover from that Mat V and Saw,
Yeah.
but they might get cut off.
The bullets.
I'm totally dead. There's no way.
It's still an interesting engagement, even because all the individual plays now will be very interesting to.
Holy shit! I did it. I can't see anything.
There's even a U.S. soldier that is pushed up very far by the wall. One could say he's almost Ramboing. He's very cut off. Well, he does have one soldier alive to his left there, covering his kind of left shoulder. Looking at the smoke, that's a saw gunner as well, so he's capable of putting down some serious fire. No red dot on the weapon though, so his accuracy is going to be a tiny bit lower than a gunner with a red dot on. And the insurgents are pulling back, waiting for the U.S. to play into their hands again. They're going to try and find more superior positions and wait for the U.S. to move, react to their move once again.
INS might be going for another counterattack here.
50 is trying to suppress whatever it can. Logi has been recovered. They could mount up and go for this crazy push right into the cop and just harden up, which would be interesting now that the insurgents are kind of spreading out a bit.
Sorry, one, can you move up onto us?
MRAP is sort of cutting us off right now. We're trying to go east so we can go south.
This is interesting because obviously neither of the two teams know how many survivors are on the opposite team.
We're going to try and
So you're gonna keep your spirits high until the end. You can tell the US are still gonna try and go for victory here. They're not losing their tactics. They're still communicating. They're still gonna move up. That MATV is still active. And honestly, to an insurgent team without perhaps any more rockets, that's a pretty big threat. They're gonna have to try and get the gunner killed.
Yeah, US still has a chance to win this, even being at a numbers disadvantage.
Ooh, there's a rocket troll under the bridge. If you see him.
US still has the potential to pull this off, but it's gonna be an uphill battle.
Hey, this is a perfect for thumbnail with 2 arrows, RPG soldier, and then like approaching. Wait, oh, here we go. Here we go. That gunner is keeping an eye on the bridge. Oh, he's keeping an eye on the ground below. What's gonna happen? Oh, is he gonna go for it, or do you think he's gonna try and target the? Ooh,
He's got his RPG loaded. He's gonna wait for the Mat V. Mat V is kind of looking in the right direction. Oh!
Oh, he missed.
I think that was a frag round. It might have been a frag round.
No, that was not a frag. That was not a frag round.
It was not?
It was the big AT round. It was the big one.
Ooh.
Oh, and now he's out of rockets or what? Billy. Oh, dude, he's just managed to escape. That gunner doesn't know exactly where the rocket came from.
Oh! He sees that one gunner though. Oh, he's here.
Oh,
Oh!
Billy.
Oh my god, that was right by the gunner. I would have like wet myself right there. That rocket gave him a fucking haircut, I tell you that much.
Wait. Didn't the Did the first rocket kill the soldier by the MATV?
No, the burst from the guy in the ruins killed
I
him.
didn't even hear it go off. So both rockets missed at point blank. The
Yeah,
fuck?
they both went just I think just an inch too high.
Jesus.
All right, so
that could be
U.S.
that
right
could be
now.
a losing factor. That could be right there.
Honestly,
It could've-
yeah.
Yeah.
Right now,
look at the
if
situation
U.S.
right now.
commits right now, if U.S. just pushes hard and fast to the cop and get there first, they have a chance to win this. They have a very likely chance of winning this, but they got to push now before that flanking squad of INS gets in position. So they got to pick up the
right
pace.
now. The numbers right now are 8 on 9. 9 insurgents. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, is this an 8 on 8? No, this is a 9 on 8 right now. There's 3 drivers and there's 5 soldiers on the ground versus 9 insurgents. So this is a 9 on 8 situation. So numbers have
U.S.
been
needs to
equalized.
move. They need to move. These 2 troops up here, they cannot waste anybody. They need to regroup. They need to push together. And these INS, this 3-man squad.
If I disable the silhouettes and I look from the INS perspective, they're going to be able to see those. They're not looking. The insurgents are not looking. They're just out on a Sunday stroll. They're not looking to their left. And I think, honestly, if the U.S. remains static,
They're approaching the compound.
who's going to hear who
INS
first?
is now in the compound.
Try and shoot
It's
them if you
INS
can.
on defense within compound.
Roger.
U.S. is
say
going to need a
never, though.
miracle.
Listen. If the 2 U.S. soldiers to the rear can somehow pull off a miracle and defeat the 3 insurgents right now approaching, can he hear him? Can he hear him? Can he not
He's
hear
about
him?
to get
How did he
shot.
not hear him, dude? What the? Look at him play this.
Shit, I'm out. This guy right here. Right
He
here.
wasn't loaded! He wasn't loaded!
This guy facing south. I was out.
Dude, how did you
Niels
not hear
doesn't
that?
hear him. Oh my god, he
Oh
missed!
my god, what the fuck?
Means he has a buddy. So someone else.
What the fuck is this
Oh
firefight
my
right
god.
now?
Oh my
The first one
god.
clicks. The other guy doesn't hear it. The
Click,
first guy
click, click.
literally misses. He literally misses around his head.
Oh, he got him with that spray though.
What the fuck is the U.S. accuracy though? Like seriously.
Oh my
Sorry, but that one
god.
guy. How did he not get him as he was like spraying?
That was hilarious.
I don't want you to
We have
die.
no need.
It's frustrating
What-
and
what-
incredibly. Why are they attacking? And why is there still a driver in there? Why doesn't he dismount?
I don't know
so
what's
this
going
is
on anymore.
funky. This is a funky. This is a very alternative universe. But seriously, that's a movie scene right there. Click, 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 and the bullets just like hitting the wall as he's moving. Okay, so maybe slightly depressing to die when you're jumping the wall there while you have so much cover. But there's a few windows that were covering that approach. No, wait, how? Oh, he shot from the rooftop.
Yeah, he
right?
shot from the rooftop.
Okay, yeah, you should have, as a gunner, you should have kept an eye on that. Well, they're gonna move far west and flank around entirely. Hey, it's not. And the 3 insurgents disengaged. They had no idea how many U.S. troops were in that area. So there's 1 guy down. We have 1 remaining soldier. He's gonna have to move pretty soon. I'm surprised he didn't protect his teammate when he was patching up. I'm surprised he didn't kill the insurgent.
Yeah, I would have been
moving across
I would
the
have been
open.
shoving fire into that corner.
Yeah.
He might have bled out. I'm
little-
not sure.
It just seemed, yeah, I'm not sure he hit either, but it just seemed like he was a little clueless to what was going on there.
This Matt B might be able to catch these 3 insurgents trying to cross the river.
That would be beautiful. Once again,
They should not be getting this close to the compound with the vehicle. They're gonna get shot out of the gun seat. Oh god.
driver is, well, he's that's not a
That's not a bad spot. I mean, that is
Exactly.
not a bad spot at all. So, I
The
will
insurgents
accept this.
can't
This
even
is
see that.
acceptable.
Yeah. The insurgents can't even see that the vehicle sees over. So if someone gets a little too relaxed,
I'm okay with. Oh god.
yeah, you might want to check
You
your
need to move
barrel.
it forward a little bit.
Oh, a lot of U.S. firepower coming in.
Oh, he
but
kills
that
him.
That one flanker. Keep it on your left. Why would there not be an insurgent moving into your left? Gunner.
She goes down.
Both the US are going for it. Oh, grenades being thrown.
Was he just running into the... Oh, no, there's a wall there. I thought he was just running right into that compound.
Well, they know where they're at. Grenade. Ooh, Jesus, was that friendly fire? How did that grenade not kill that insurgent soldier? Okay, so we have 2 US troopers attacking this direction, and we have 1 guy approaching from the top.
Someone needs to get back in the Mat V.
One you sit down.
The lack of, like, in a close quarter situation, 360-degree coverage is, like, key. You're going to have someone literally the ability to sprint for 2 seconds and get around.
All right,
And
just one
it
US
cost
trooper
them.
left.
It cost them the MATV. No, there's 2. Oh, yeah, no, never mind. He got dropped on the north side there. 1 soldier
Who is it?
versus
Ricocheted, man.
half a dozen. Half a dozen.
I'm up.
Even 7 versus 1.
Yeah.
I've seen worse assaults. Honestly, the
I
insurgents
couldn't tell.
have been on top of it. It's what? There's a corner on your left, literally 10 meters. Why would the insurgents not approach from that direction? You have to. You have to be prepared.
Yeah, they should have had someone posted up on
Yeah.
that corner.
You have to be. This is where communication comes into effect. If all the squad leaders and command and fire team leaders are killed, if you've got inexperienced or new players, of course, like that is to be expected. Like experience does come into effect. Oh, that grenade could be a pretty good one. No, I think it's going to do about as little damage as the last one. It's going. Ooh, it's going to land exactly in the same place.
Did he throw both of his frags?
Bandaging. Southwest.
He's rushing for it. Well, GG, good game. It was interesting until the very last second.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, as I said, just to talk about that small point towards the end. You have to really prepare for what the enemy can do, not what you think they will do.
Mm-hmm.
And in a situation like that, 360 security becomes more and more important. But you know what? Great, two good games.
Yeah,
you
two
know?
good games.
Solid throughout.